Hi Booktube, it's Gina. Today is Sunday and I hope you're doing well. I'm getting ready for the week next week, and today is sort of my chores day, puttering around the house day, but I watched a video this morning by Jack at Spread Book Joy, and it reminded me that she had tagged me in the S tag. So I wanted to come on here and do the S tag and just refer you all to Jack's channel. It's wonderful. She's a delight. She lives in North London in a beautiful Victorian, I think she called it a terrace. And I love her channel. It is definitely spreading book joy. And so I wanted to do this tag because I am always so honored when someone tags me. It is such a gift that people here know me, think about me, and think to tag me. So every time it happens, I am just delighted. And I wanted to do this tag. So let's get started. This was created by Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff, one of his alphabet tags. And of course, I will link his channel down below, as well as Jack's. And this is the S tag. So prompt number 1 is S is for science fiction. Which science fiction author have you read the most books by? And I have not before this year actually read any science fiction. I don't think. I own Becky Chambers' The Small Way to a Long Angry Planet, but I have not yet read it. It's definitely on my TBR. But if you've been paying attention to any of my videos over the last few months, you will know that I am participating in Book Trek 2021 and reading Star Trek novels for this last 5 months through December of 2021. And of course, I can't talk about Star Trek without showing you some of these just hilarious and wonderful covers. So these are all by different authors, and so I don't really have a specific author who I've read the most by. Well, actually, I'm lying, because you know what? The 2 that I read were both written by Joe Haldeman. So Joe Haldeman's going to win for the most science fiction books read by, because I've read 2 of his, Planet of Judgment and World Without End. And I can plan to continue reading Star Trek books probably forever. They're delightful. They're a lot of fun to read, and I really love them. The next question is, S is for Star Trek. Which is your favorite Star Trek series? So it's a 4-way tie between the original series, The Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. I can't pick. Don't make me pick. Although I would probably have to say The Next Generation is the Star Trek that's my Star Trek. It's the Star Trek I was watching on TV back in the 90s. So that one does have a different place in my heart, but I really do love them all. And I'm just working on Enterprise right now, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a favorite. I'm having a little bit more trouble getting into that one for some reason, but I'm gonna keep going. S is for school story. What is your favorite book with a school setting? I did not read these prompts over well enough because I don't have anything planned for a school setting. Let me think. Oh, I know what I'm gonna pick. I am going to pick this one. A Place to Hang the Moon, which is a debut novel, middle grade, by Kate Albus. It's not totally set in a school, but the kids are in school, and this is one of my favorite books so far of the year. I loved reading it. It's about 3 orphans from London who get evacuated during the Blitz, and their trials and tribulations and their search for a family. And I loved this book. So I'm going to say this one for a school setting, even though it's not 100% a school setting like Harry Potter kind of boarding school thing, but school does play a fairly big role in this book. So that's what I'm going to go with. Prompt number 4, S is for satire. Which is your favorite satirical novel? And I have to talk about Bleak House for this one, because this is just dripping with satire, with sarcasm, with cynicism, but in a sort of a loving way. Every time a lawyer, a rich person, a religious person, and by that I mean not for people who have religion, but the pastor, preacher. I mean, they're just, the way he describes them is just dripping with sarcasm. And so I haven't quite finished this yet, but I think this is very satirical, and I'm loving this book. So I'm gonna go with Bleak House for that one. The log cabin prompt. These frustrate me. All right, you are in a log cabin with no internet and no Kindle. In the log cabin are 4 books: Scarlet Sins by Dane Cobain, The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, The Accidental by Ali Smith, and City by Clifford D. Simak. Which book do you start reading? And I'm gonna just, you know what, I'm gonna go with The Accidental, because, only because I own this one and I wanna hold it up, because I can't do a book talk and not talk about a book. So since this is the only one of these 4 that I own, I'm gonna read The Accidental. And actually, I've never read any Ali Smith, but I also own these 4. I showed these before in, I think, a video about Booktube made me buy it, because I own 5 Ali Smith books. I've never read her, and I have a sneaking suspicion that she's not going to be completely my cup of tea, but we will see. And hopefully I will read one of these before the end of the year. Which book will you give as a gift to a booktuber? And I'm just gonna say City by Clifford D. Simak, and I'm gonna give that one to Michael K. Vaughan, who mostly reads horror and classics and like classical, as in Herodotus and things. But I love his channel. I don't know anything about City, so I have no idea if it's anything he would like, but I'm giving it away. It is a little cold in the cabin. Which book would you burn in the hearth for warmth? I guess that's gonna have to be The Sword of Kaigen. Because which book would you leave behind for the next visitor? It has to be Scarlet Sins, because Dane is on Booktube and I follow his channel, and so we have to all read that book. I haven't read it yet, but hopefully I will be able to get to it. Next prompt is, S is for Steinbeck. Which is your favorite Steinbeck novel? I'm embarrassed to say I've never read any Steinbeck, so maybe that is something I will have to add to my reading list for next year. I've got East at Eden, I own it, and it is something I've wanted to read, but I've just never managed to get to it. S is for Sartre. Is Sartre worth reading? I have no idea, because again, I've never read anything by him. S is for Shakespeare. Which is your favorite Shakespeare play? And I'm actually going to go with Othello on this one, only because it's the only one that I've actually read on, paper. And I did a buddy read of that for Shakespeare this year. Was my first Shakespeare, my first Shakespeare reading, and a buddy read with Juan from Plagued by Visions. So I will always have really fond memories of that whole experience. I loved the play. I loved the experience of buddy reading it and hearing Juan's thoughts on that. He's a very, very smart person and a very smart reader, and had a lot of insight to share with me on that play. So I'm going to go with Othello for that one. What is the last Shakespeare play you saw performed at the theater? And this one was Shakespeare in the Park this summer. So my little town normally has Shakespeare in the Park every summer. We, of course, haven't had it for the last couple years. And this year I was out of town. They did do it this year, but I missed it. So I found another local Shakespeare in the Park. I'm in Seattle. It's all over the place in the summertime. But of course, it hasn't been for a couple of years. And they were doing Comedy of Errors. And I loved it. I've seen it before, thankfully, because they only had 5 actors. I think they were a little bit challenged to kind of get the troupe kind of quickly up and running when I'm not sure, I'm making assumptions, but they only had 5 actors. And with Comedy of Errors, there are already like 2 sets of twins, and it's already a little tricky. So having kind of people playing the same roles and people being twins, it was a lot of fun to watch. They did a great job. It was hilarious. We were all just laughing, and they were having a ton of fun with it. I went with a good friend of mine. We took a picnic, and we sat and ate and had a little wine punch, and it was wonderful. It was one of the first sort of times being in public, which was a little bit weird, or in a group in public, but it was a delight. So Comedy of Errors, it was just this last August. S is for Stalin. Stalin was a monster, but does he have any redeeming qualities? I'm going to say no. S is for short story. What is your preferred length of fictional reading material? So I generally don't prefer short stories. I love big chunky books. I love series. I love long series like the Realm of the Elderlings ones. Here, let me show you this one. This is just one of the fantasy series in the Realm of the Elderlings. I love, and there's I think 16 of these. I love it. I love big books. I'm loving sinking my teeth into Bleak House, which is, what's this one, like 880 something pages. So I love long books. I don't love short stories as much. So the longer the better in my book. And S is for subscribers. This is from Jim. Not a prompt, just a thank you. He just passed the 500 subscriber mark. And I will say the same thing because I just passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. And I'm just so grateful to everyone that is here and has subscribed and gives me that thumbs up and makes a comment. It's been so delightful, and I have loved every moment of it, and I'm just grateful for each and every one of you. So thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.